This 40-foot shipping container was modified into a kiosk in China.
2 of these units paired with our double wide header kit would make a spacious 16 by 40 container concession. You could also make a T configuration by butting a 20-foot up to the middle set of cargo doors on that 40, which opens up options. Or for the ultimate solution, you could have that double wide plus do the T configuration in 20.
But it actually isn't modified. It was built from factory this way. And what's really cool is it handles cargo inside of it. So instead of you paying that boat ride over from China, we can actually stuff it full of goods, ship it to North America, empty those goods, and now we can finish modifying it and putting it for sale. I'm gonna show you all the cool features of this thing and what we would do to make this a cool structure or a cool space for us here in North America to enjoy the sun. Stay tuned, hope you learned something. So join me as I first check this thing out. I'm actually kind of excited to see how they put this together because I have designed some of my own shipping containers in China. If you watched our previous videos, I've come up with some mod boxes, and that uses a rectangular tube at the bottom and at the top, and that allows us to remove large wall sections and drop those and keep the structural integrity of the shipping container. So behind me here I have the cargo doors, and those are important because this thing is CSC certified, meaning that it can have cargo inside of it, come across the ocean full of cargo, and the cargo owner is paying the boat ride, not you. And that makes sure that this container actually comes across as a reasonable price. China has done a lot of the structural modifications for us. All we have to do is just put some more lipstick on the pig and finish this thing off. So some people, if you want to cook in the sun, you can just start operating it as it is, or you can utilize some of our framing systems and spray foam insulation and finish the interior and actually have this thing air conditioned. You could serve ice cream in here, do whatever, because if you got a fridge or a deep freeze, if you want cold inside, it's actually exhausting heat out into the area here. So you got to make up the BTUs that that fridge or freezer produces, plus you got to make sure that the sun that's beating on this is keeping your workers nice and cool inside of this thing. So let's check it out. Right here I see that the corrugations where there isn't either the kiosk windows or the cargo doors are at the regular width of a container. So this is 7 foot 8 inches, and then I see it comes in about 2 inches. It's Chinese, it'll be metric, so it's probably like a 60 by 120 rec tube. And then here they'll structurally reinforce across the footer and the header of the kiosk window, and they run these vertical columns right from the bottom post all the way up to the top tubing. And that's important in this instance because then they don't need a super tall tubing in there. There's no intention that this thing's actually going to be dropping large wall panels. What they've done here is just 2 container door hinges, which is kind of surprising, but good to see how strong those are. They just got the regular container door hinges and a regular container door, albeit a little bit narrower, installed here. And then their gas shocks on both sides. They've appropriately sized those. Come over here, I want to show you this. It's right around the corner. This lighting might not work, but try it. Right here, so this is meant to hit right here in case this wanted to sag. But I just opened this up and I let the gas shocks open it on its own, and it didn't open it enough to even utilize this safety. Odds are these shocks have already lost some of their pressure and they're not operating as well as they should be, and I guess already need replacements. But it's just a nice little safety lever and something that's very primitive. I'm very curious what kind of pressure they pre-pressurize these gas shocks to, because like on car hoods and stuff, you really need to know how much weight you're going to be holding upwards, and you have to pressurize your shocks to that same poundage on both sides. And so they've obviously figured it out in China. We struggled with that a little bit on our previous kiosk windows. Definitely got torque on it. I don't see any snow, wind, anything breaking that, but And then right here with this door handle, these are really annoying when they're flapping in the wind and stuff. When you open up a container door, I always just by habit, I'll open the door up and then I'll just close it and latch it again so that when they're open, they're not sitting there flapping and annoying you. And it's definitely the same thing you'd want to do right here. Before you let it get away on you, you'd want to close this, close the latch, and then let her go. So back to the tour here. Between the first kiosk window and the cargo doors, there's another couple corrugation panels, and those are pushed all the way as wide as it can be to the regular ISO dimensions. And then the next structural vertical rec tubes here are recessed inwards, and the header. And what's cool here is that the header is lower. And so this is basically whether it's 80 inches or maybe a standard height set of cargo doors that looks more than a foot. It's also a modified height of doors, but it's meant to be just double acting Texas barn door or something. Then it's just the repeat again. So we got more corrugation panels that are recessed outwards, and then another kiosk window. What I like about this setup here is you got 8 feet there and you got well over 4 feet on either side. And so we can either just butt 20-foot or 40-foot container up to this. And now we can actually like create a T out of this. So we have our own style of kiosk window, or you could do roll-up doors or whatever. And we do have a client, JT's Beach Cafe at a Blackstrap there. If you're local to Saskatoon, you should go check those guys out. But they're actually interested in buying this and using this as an addition to their existing setup, or creating new setups at other provincial parks. That would be their idea, and that's a cool idea, is to have a T out of here. Maybe you could do some, call it liquor sales there, and you got your non-licensed sales, and then whether it's maybe additional deep fryer or whatever, or if you had a double wide here, you could actually have seating inside of there, and maybe this is the restaurant or the bar area, and then that's where clients are. And you could do pergolas, or you could do decks on either side yet. So you'd get the full 40-foot wide, 16 feet, however long, would be enclosed underneath a roof, and then you could have some open air patio seating. A huge drawback to this type of containers, although it's inherent with all shipping containers, is that it's narrow, but this one's 2 inches more narrow than a regular container. It's only 7 foot 6 inches wide. So by the time we're done finishing it, it's about 6'10" on the interior, which means this is a prime candidate for Container Modification World's double wide kit. If we took another 40 foot and put it beside this, we ran a header all the way across and cut out most or all of the center wall. Now you'd have yourself a large cooking area, lots of room for freezers, maybe potentially a storage room, and you could leave some wall inside of this. That would be awesome. So a 640-foot shack where you could use the earth and all the landscaping outside as your seating, and just serve people on the side of a road or on the edge of a beach. This is a pretty cool setup for it. I congratulate China for coming up with a structure like this, because it is intelligent. And again, I think the most intelligent part about this whole system is that it's not overly modified. I can still see what's here. I can engineer this, I can get it stamped, and I can finish the rest. Whenever you plan on building a kiosk out of a shipping container, it's a very popular option. It's utilized all over the Caribbean, the United States, Canada, Europe, everywhere really. It's not a new concept, but it is a new concept where China often will try to do the whole package. They'll try to finish the inside, they'll try to add the electrical, and then none of that passes code. Or if you need a permanent foundation, you need an engineer stamp on your drawings to get approval from your municipality, you are pooched. So in this instance, this is very obvious how this is built. I can have my CAD guys go through the shipping container and see that this is rectangular tubing going from the bottom structure all the way up to the top. We can draw this out. We can provide those drawings to our structural engineer, and it's very easy for them to stamp it. And then with all of our framing systems, with Container Modification World steel stud brackets, or if you like wood stud brackets, you can now frame the interior of this. You can insulate it with spray foam, I suggest, or potentially mineral wool insulation, depending on your climate. You have employees working inside of there, and you got freezers or fridges. To keep everything inside of there cold, it exhausts a whole bunch of heat, and it gets very hot working inside of these. And so it's very important to insulate it and then to air condition it. And what we suggest there is our mini splits. We have a specialized mini split mounting kit that allows you to have a heat pump mounted on the outside of the thing. I often notice they install 2 of those on ice cream shacks because there's so much heat being produced in there. You need like 6 tons of AC in a small structure just to keep that place or the people inside of it nice and cool. This would be a prime candidate for Container Modification World's double wide kit. If you could get double this, so you could actually have 4 different serving windows, and then inside of here, by the time you insulate it and finish it, it's only gonna be like 6 foot 10 inches wide on the inside. So then you can get it up to be like 15-foot interior. That's gonna be awesome. That's something that you can work inside of, and that would be a great pairing. So I'd love to see that in future videos. If any customer's looking for one of those and I got 2 of these in stock, I'd love to build it. Reach out to us, sales@thecontainerguy.ca.